Well, hey, welcome everybody. Here we are at another Tech Tip Tuesday, beginning of February 7th, 2023. I'm so glad you guys are here. If this is your first time, well, let me tell you what is going to happen tonight. This is a chat-based forum where we unpack your questions. You bring your questions, jump them into the chat there, and we will unpack those and solve the mysteries of what's going on with your Healy. My name is Ken Close. If you guys don't know me, I'm a Healy Word member, just like most of you guys, an engineer. My background is in electronics engineering, as well as I've been with Healy for a little over 3 years now. And I'm joined by Jake Barron, our head of operations. Hey, Jake, thanks for being here.
Hey, Ken. Hello, everyone.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm so glad you're here. It's always good to have some help and collaboration with these fun times. And by the way, folks, we are joined by Henry from the customer service department in the chat. So say hello to Henry and thank you for being here. So much appreciate you. So what we have going on tonight, guys, is of course, if you've got technical issues, questions about how the function of Healy, the apps, or even some of the concepts, then certainly put those in the chat and we will unpack those and solve those for you guys. What we can't do is we can't really talk about or make any recommendations or answer any recommendations for what program, for what issue, diagnose or treat any conditions. We can't really give you any advice. We're not medical professionals, but we can sure talk about the technical stuff. So if that sounds fun to you guys, and if you're in the right spot, please stay put and put your questions in the chat. And Jake, are you ready to get going?
Let's get started.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Looks like the chat's livening up already. What do we got? Oh, Rachel says, what does the lapel pin say? Well, it says Healy, by the way. It says Healy. Yep, it's got the pink dot little logo on it. Okay. In Blue Dot coaching results, what is the significance of the EX negative 27% as far as the pertinence? So there's a great chart, by the way, that maybe I can pull it up and show you guys, but the percentage that's shown not only in the coaching module, but in as well with like the aura scans or the resonance scans, there's a percentage that this the system shows you, and that's essentially the relevance in your life. So some are on the positive side. In other words, maybe it's 97%, or maybe it's 77%, or even 47%, whatever it is. On the positive side, that means these are conscious things that you're probably aware of. And if the percentage is lower, then you're also probably working on them. The higher the percentage, the more relevant it is in your life and the more attention you need to pay to it. On the negative side means that these are still present in your life, but they're not so much active. Whatever the condition is that it's talking about, it's not so much active or even conscious. It may be even in the subconscious realm. So that's what some of those percentages mean. Well, that's what they all mean. They're pretty much the same across the board. Let me see if I can pull up that chart. You can kind of look at it a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to bring my phone online here too. So do we got anything else in there, Jake?
No.
Excellent. We're solving these mysteries. I'm gonna
We are all caught up. So put those questions in the chat. We're ready for more.
Give me a little time to pull up this chart, because I really want to show you the kind of how to decipher that whole line of information at the top of those scans, because it's really great information. In fact, I mean, without knowing what they mean, you know, the content of the dialogue is pretty great, but we go much deeper when it comes to unpacking that content. Okay. There's a question. Can you explain why the blue dot program stops when I'm using the coil and then do another activity like answering a call? I end up having to start over. That's a great question. And this is, I think we've covered this a couple of times in the past. But the difference essentially between the blue dot and the what we called pink dot, or the new Healy 2 app, the one that manages microcurrent, which is the Healy app, it is designed to send content to the Healy hardware, essentially the entire program model, whatever the purpose of the program is. And then it's locked into the memory on the Healy, and it can run independently. You can actually shut the app off, and the Healy will continue to run throughout its entirety of that program. But the blue dot is a different modality. It's actually working with the information field, and it's a real-time interface between you as the client, because with the pink dot, the Healy hardware is connected to the client, right? You got the coil, so it's essentially emanating energy right in the region of the coil, or you're connected via the wristbands or the sticky pads. So there's no need to actually input a client, because the connection is relative to the proximity or the connection that the hardware is to the host. But in the blue dot, because we're working with the information field, there needs to be a client assigned to the intention or to the whole process. And so you're attached to the client, and it's real-time interface. There's no probes or connections. And if you, in order to switch from one app to another, you actually have to hard close the one you do not want to start the one you do want. And that will, if you're hard closing the blue dot app, it will stop the program. It's intentional. It needs to be that way, because there's a two-way communications in real time with the Healy hardware, the quantum sensor, and you as a GPS coordinates, I might say. Anything you want to add to that, Jake?
Yeah, well, yeah, because in the question, she mentions when using the Analyze app, the program stops when she's using the coil, and then do another activity like answering a call. So the coil has nothing to do with the Analyze app stopping if you go to do another activity. That just happens to be, maybe you happen to have it on there when this happened. But even if you don't have the coil attached, if you're running vibrating a program in the Analyze app and move it to the background to answer a call, to reply to a text, whatever, it is going to stop. And that's why a lot of people do like to have a dedicated device specifically for using the Analyze app. Maybe they turn off all notifications, put it in do not disturb, something like that, while they're running a program too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it has to be that way, right? For now. I mean, that's just the way it needs to be and function right now. So
for now, but there's certainly an opportunity in the future for something. So.
Yeah, you never know. Technology is always evolving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to pull up my device real quick here, and I'll just share with you guys a little information about. Oh, hang on. I guess I better.
Well, while you're doing that, there's a nice positive feedback here from Marjorie. Said that her daughter's had great results in 4 different areas after only 1 week with the MagHealy. So that, they're great. It's so powerful, and there's so many uses for the MagHealy. So it's not surprising to hear, but it's great to hear those stories. So
I love it. I love it. It's perfect. Okay, so here is I was talking about the chart. There is a chart, but as well as, so here's a chart, right? And it's kind of small. I apologize. Hopefully you can kind of see that. But when we're deciphering the content at the top of any scan, the content itself is, if I can blow it up a little bit here, it'll look like this. It'll be a percentage, a vertical line, a number, another vertical line, and then a letter and a number. So this is kind of the format. And so let's decipher this. Basically, the percentage the number in the center, and then the one on the far end. So we'll decipher this a little bit and tell you what that is. Essentially, the percentage, if we go to the top of the screen here, it talks about the number one. This is the relevancy in the active importance where it's needed to be dealt with in other words, an issue. If it's a negative relevancy, that means it's an issue present, but it's just inactive. So that's why you were mentioning what's that negative percentage. And the percentage, again, is just on a scale of 0 to 100, its importance. So if it's 100%, it's very important. If it's 0%, it's not very important. Okay. The second the number after the vertical line is a number between 1 and 10. And this is essentially the intensity that relates to how much this issue is affecting you. So a 10 means it's very, very powerfully influencing you in your life and needs to be corrected or worked on. And if it's a 1, it just means it's you've already achieved some high degree of clearance. In other words, you've been working on it. Same thing with the relevancy. Things that are in the negative are things that are subconscious, inactive. But if it's in the positive percentage and it's low, meaning it's present, but you're probably working on it. Okay, so these are just some things to take a look at. Then the last piece of the content there is the dosage as it relates to homeopathy in terms of potency. So potency is separated by a scale of basically 3 areas, a D, a C, and an LM. D relates more to the physical issues within the body. C, the emotional, mental issues, and then LM is more of the mental, spiritual. All right. So this is just kind of a way of deciphering that content. And then this graph gives even more ability to decipher what the D, C, and LM are in what categories of your life, how you're acting, thinking, lifestyle, life themes, or even some of the karmic or ancestral content based on the number. Okay. So hopefully that helps a little bit, guys. Let's go on to the next question. Probably going to raise more questions with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's great information. It's super detailed there. For just a not as complex of a situation, so there's actually, if you go to the coaching videos that are in Academy as well, it doesn't have that exact format that Ken just showed, but it does have, I'll share this while we're here. There is some stuff like in the interpretation of analysis parameters. If you go to this video here, you'll see some of the same stuff that Ken was showing, and also some things related to, we get a question all the time, the transmission duration. How long should I vibrate some of these programs? So this is a great video here as well. If you have not done this, just go to academy.healy.world and you'll find this video in the coach module section here. And then there's also the information fields and there's some information. Well, again, this isn't exactly what Ken was referring to here, but there's some great videos that go into more detail on the coaching analysis, coaching module. So if you haven't gone through all these, I think they're worth checking out, because they'll give you a little bit more background information on what exactly is going on in the coaching module. So
yeah, I recommend that you watch all of the videos in the Academy, because I tell you what, just by doing that, and they're not real long. I mean, I don't know, what's the longest one? 10 minutes maybe or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact one, but yeah, most of them are just a couple of minutes long each. So it's
yeah, you can go through them pretty quick.
Yeah, maybe if you haven't gone through them, take one day, each day per week, watch a different series of the videos and kind of do a whole Healy Academy week or something.
There you go. Go to Healy School.
yeah. For the next question here, I'm going to share my screen again, because the question was, where can I find recordings of this call that we're on right now, Tech Tip Tuesday? So you just go to HealyAmericas.com. It takes you right to our YouTube channel, which is the Healy World Americas page on YouTube. And you'll see when you come to here, there's most recent videos are added here. You'll see Tech Tip Tuesday from last week, and then also Healy for Beginners and Beyond, which we had a great call. I think we went an hour and 20 minutes on that, hour and 24, actually. We ton of content, top 10 things that all Healy users need to know. So that was just added yesterday. So check that recording out if you did not miss or did not check or weren't able to attend the live call. And then for Tech Tip Tuesday specifically, you'll see if you go to playlist and then go to Tech Tip Tuesday, view full playlist. We started adding these a little over a year ago. You see January 18th, 2022, but if you just scroll all the way down, you'll see this actually last week's was the 50th video in this series. So there's 50 hours of content just right there, just within the Tech Tip Tuesday playlist. But if you click on the video, and it's going to take this to this page here, and then in the description area, you'll see a show more. If you click on show more, it's going to pull up or show you each of the questions that were asked and we answered live during that call. And they're all hyperlinked. So if you just click on the timestamp here, it's going to take you directly to that segment where we discussed that particular question. So you don't, there's only, if you already know the answers to most of these or are familiar with them, you don't need to watch the whole 1 hour episode. You can just click on the timestamp, go right to that. And then if you want to share this with somebody, just right click on it, click copy link address, send them that link. And when they click on it, it'll take them right to the segment where we discussed that question or topic.
That's a super great resource. And like Jake said, there's 50 videos in there. That's a lot of hours of content. And of course, some of it's redundant. We get similar questions, repeated. So that's okay. And then there's a question, if there's questions around that chart, this particular call will be recorded so you can actually, pause it and take screenshots or whatever of that chart. So that's why we share stuff here. Okay. Let's see. A MagHealy question: running a multi-hour program, can you put it on and leave it on the charger? Does the phone/tablet need to be running too? Yes, you can put it on the charger, leave it running. Here's the one thing I would caution everyone. Just like any rechargeable device, you're going to want to, I guess, work that battery through its full range on a regular basis so that you can get a good full expression of the abilities of that battery. If you don't, you may start to lose some of that battery life over the months and years of operation. So yes, you can. If you're going to do that, I wouldn't recommend you do it the majority of the time. It would be a few times. Of course, sometimes people like to run some of the programs all night. And so sometimes you'll want to do that. I wouldn't do it all the time. And then, of course, if you are doing it, then follow up with a full depletion of the battery. So in other words, use the MagHealy all the way till it's completely depleted, and then recharge it fully without using it, and then use it again. So you're getting at full range.
Yeah. The second part of that question, does the phone or tablet need to be running too? So it's the same as, we talk about when running a program with the Healy 2 app, whether you're using microcurrent or the Coil. You can disconnect from your MagHealy, disconnect from your Healy device after you've started the program. The Bluetooth light will go off since you're no longer connected to the Healy, the MagHealy, whatever, but it will continue to run. You'll continue to see the power light flash, which will indicate, or if you have the MagHealy on setting 3, you'll continue to see the lights along the side flash, even though you're no longer connected to that device until the program ends. If it's a regular program and the MagHealy has a set amount of time, but if it's an Atmosphere program, it just continues to run. So
you see it by that little infinity sign, whatever on the timer. There's no time. Okay. So follow up to coaching question. I thought the percentage was relevancy to the focus statement. The second number, 1 to 10, was the level of awareness. High awareness, low equals low and no awareness. So please clarify. So again, it's I want to say, gosh, there's a great video out there that Michael Dans did a while back talking about these percentages and as well as the intensity. So intensity within the program, within the coaching module, that number between 1 and 10, couple things it means. One is how intense it is within the client's life. How effective is it within the client's life? 1 meaning not so much, 10 meaning a lot. But also, if you're coaching another person, you're the coach and you came up with this reading for this client, and they have a number between 1 and 10 there. And the 1 is going to indicate, okay, first of all, it's not really relevant in their life. It could be a very delicate subject as well. 10 meaning it's very relevant in their life, and that you can kind of speak to it in a very bold way. So the Michael Dans video kind of goes a little bit through that, but there is some great stuff on the coaching on that video. So, it's still a relevancy is that 1 to 10 is still a intensity within life. The percentage is still a relevancy within life. So not the focus statement, but the focus statement, let me put it this way. When you put in a focus statement in there, the program doesn't read that. That's your own intention. Where you place your energies or your attention is where you place your energy. So your focus statement, whatever the intention is for that coaching module, that session is just looking at your state of being in that moment. So if your intention is to come up with an answer for whatever you wrote down right there, that intention is designed to keep you from being so scattered, I guess you might say. How many of you guys, are asked, hey, what do you want to work on? And you go, well, I got this and I got that, I got the other. I want to work on my relationships and I want to work on my finances and I want to work on my body. I want, that focus statement is to keep you within a parameter, within a boundary. And then you stay there within your mind. You stay there within your intention. And then when the coaching module assesses you, it's looking at your energy in that current state. So it's all of the percentages based on the results of that scan are relevant to how they are still influencing your change, no matter what the intention statement is. So I don't know, hopefully that kind of helps a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last name, someone was asking about how to spell last name, Danz, D-A-N-Z.
Right, D-A-N-Z. And I think if you actually go to YouTube and put in Michael Dans, Healy, Michael Dans, or just Michael Dans, you may find that. So I think you may find that because it's been published or put out there by many. Max did a really good session with Michael. Max was actually the participant, the client, and Michael did a scan on him. And I'm not sure if that training is out there, but and Michael is, if you don't know Michael, he is part of the Time Waver company, which is Healy's parent company, and a very, very much involved in how these systems work. So he's a great resource. We should get him on. We should get him on some training for the U.S. one of these days.
That's actually it's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Ken, this is a great question here. So it's in the Analyze app, the Blue Dot app. When vibrating, do I need to hold my cell phone or Healy device while I'm doing that? Because when you first set up the Analyze app and you asked you to record your vibration, you hold the Healy device in your hand. And then when you go to do an analysis, you put your finger on the device to, so you're focused on what's going on there. So you are during the setup process and the scanning process, you at one point you're holding the Healy, the other point you're touching your smart device, but when it's actually vibrating, do you need to have it touching you?
Yeah. This is a great question. And I want to give you a principle of what both of those, what's the purpose of both of those? A, holding the Healy in your hand when it's taking a reading, or B, when you place your finger on the screen to activate the scan. Both of those, the purpose of those, remember, Healy was built off of its parent company, TimeWaver. TimeWaver requires a practitioner, very skilled, very trained, very well versed in how this technology works. Marcus took 10 years to develop a personable wearable system, aka Healy. So they had to automate certain things. They had to replace the practitioner with some AI systems and some default mechanisms to keep the client or the patient or the you in the present moment. So both of those modalities are for that exact reason. When you put the Healy in your hand, it says put it in your right hand, right? You can put it in your left hand, you can put it on your forehead. The point is to stay in the present moment. So the Healy, your intention, just like I said earlier, within the coaching module, your intention or your attention is critical when it comes to getting accuracy of a reading, because where we place our awareness is where we place our energy. So this is why the body becomes out of balance in the first place, is because we've given so much of our energy and power away to a condition, to an environmental problem, to some outside focus, worry, or concern, that there's no room for healing within the body anymore. And so this is, again, the automated process that Healy designed, or Marcus designed, to keep us in the present moment. Placing your finger on the screen, it's a picture of a fingerprint, right? It's not taking your fingerprint. It's not analyzing the fingerprint at all. All that's doing is having you have to actually look at the screen, right? to actually put your finger on the screen and touch the right spot. Well, if you're looking at the screen, you're placing your awareness there, you're staying there with your energy. And so all you're doing by placing your finger on the screen is activating the touch screen function of the screen. That's it. And then the program is doing the analysis. So it's key that we stay in the present moment. It's key that we remain, you can put the device in your hand, but keeping your mind in that present moment. You're not thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. You're not worried about an email you didn't send or something stupid you said to a friend earlier. You're not worrying about any of that. You're staying in the moment. So you do not need to hold your cell phone. It has nothing to do with the phone itself. The phone is just the program that's running. It's essentially the visual aid, I guess you might say, for the content. It's the Healy device. It's this little hardware right here that's doing all the interface. Okay. All right. I thought the coil was not necessary with Blue Dot. You are correct. It is not necessary. So somebody mentioned about the coil in relation to the Blue Dot. Marjorie says, I thought the coil was not necessary with the Blue Dot. It is not. And I've get questions all the time about, well, can I leave it on when I'm doing a scan? Does it make it worse or better? There's no real evidence or studies to say it makes it better or worse. The coil was never designed to be installed on the Healy when you're running any of the Blue Dot functions. It was never designed for that. So from an engineering perspective, I could make some speculations, but yeah, you do you. I always take mine off. I'll just put it that way, because it was not designed for it to be on. Okay. Laura Lee's asking, Ken, where's that chart? So, yeah, it's just, I'm not sure where I got it, to be honest with you. It was, I've had it for years. And there was a group in Telegram that one of the practitioners in there shared it.
I think you can find it if you Google it, last I checked, but
you might try Googling dilution, homeopathic dilution chart. It's basically showing how, when I say dilution, people will think about, well, how many drops of, or how many scoops of sugar in a bowl of water, or dilution in terms of a fluid, right? This is when we talk about dilution, it is the depth in which something is within your field, within your being. So it can be highly diluted, meaning it's very low concentration, right? If you highly dilute something, then there's not a lot of it within the volume of matter. If it's not very diluted, that means that it is highly present in the volume of matter, whatever it is, right? So we can call it particles per million, right? So if it's not very diluted, meaning it's very present within the being, and most likely in the foreground, most likely relative to the physical body, or because that's the most relevant in terms of matter. Then you have the mental body or the mental mass of the being, and then you have the spiritual or emotional mass of the being. So those are different dilutions. Okay. All right. So we got the Michael Dan's one. Where am I? Would focus be the same with the MagHealy? Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's the same no matter if you're having an organic meal or you're running magnetic energy into your body. Everything is energy, everything. When we boil it down from the solid to the liquid, to the gas, to the chemical, everything has an energy to it. And the molecular structure is essentially just vibrating. And it's vibrating at a very specific rate called the frequency. So the only thing that separates any kind of energy mass is its frequency, whether it be the clothing you're wearing or the skin cell in your body or an emotion. Everything is energy. And so where we place our attention is where we place our energy. So have you ever, I don't know, smash your finger, with a hammer or drop something on your foot, and that instant awareness goes right to the site of pain, right? The pain gets your attention. And so the longer you keep your attention on it, have you ever noticed if you hurt yourself, but you're in the midst of some kind of activity, you're in the middle of a ball game or something like that, you're really high adrenaline, high focused on the game and the intensity, and you get hurt. And then later at the end of the day, you go, wow, I got a huge bruise right here. Where did that come from? And it hurts, right? Because you got tackled and you got pummeled or whatever it is, and you don't know about it because your awareness is somewhere else. On the other side of that spectrum, you smash your finger and you put all your attention on it. You're so angry, you're cussing everybody out. You're mad about life, and 2 days later you're still angry, and the pain is still intense. Well, that's because your awareness, your mind is feeding that area of your body and that sensation. So it's highly important that you maintain an awareness of what you're doing, what you're trying to heal, not the pain, not the suffering, but what you're trying to accomplish. Who are you on the other side of this particular session with the MagHealy? How do you want to feel? Not how don't I want to feel? Of course, we typically go to the worst case scenario, don't we? And what happens when we do that? We've engaged this concern about some future existence, some worry, some worst case scenario. That turns on the fight or flight mechanism. It turns on a energy consumption system within the body, and healing down regulates. Here's the thing we want to make sure we understand. When we're running a program, or we're on an exercise program, or we're on a great meal plan, or we're in a coaching session of some sort, our mind, it still has a huge influence, essentially called the placebo effect, right? And so we want to make sure that our mind is on board with the outcome that we most want. Okay. So yes, keep your focus on healing.
Yeah.
When I coach people all the time, and I do a lot of nutritional coaching, physical coaching, performance coaching, and the mind is the number one thing we work on. highly trained Olympic athletes. The only thing that separates the gold medalist from the silver is fractions of a second. And it's literally it's not the performance of the body, it's the mind overcoming the limitation. And that's the winner. That's the winner.
I think we're all caught up again. So we're waiting for the next round of questions to come in.
I love it. I love it. And I just want to say welcome, you guys. And you know what? If there's a friend, if you find value in this call, definitely invite a friend. And sometimes it's funny. I mean, I hear people say, you know what? I didn't really have a question, but I learned something anyway. So you never know. Somebody may need to hear some of the content we're talking about. So definitely invite people in. Just, you can copy the link right now and invite somebody in if you like. By the way, if you guys do want to copy the chat, down there in the chat box, there's the little icon for the emoji. And then right next to it is 3 little dots. You tap on those or click on those 3 little dots if you're on your PC or your Mac. And at the end of the call, there will be an option to save chat to your PC, and you'll have all the content there for you if you like. So that's sometimes helpful. I get people asking, how do you save the chat? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
A little techie info about the Zoom call.
Yeah, and even as a co-host on this call, I think I learn something every week. There's no beginning and end to this journey here at Healy. This is a lifelong thing. We're some of us have been around with Healy longer than others and know a lot more, but it's still so much more to learn as we go here. And every day, every week, something else pops up, or you may have known something similar, but it's asked slightly differently, and it's like, well, I never thought about that. So it's yeah.
I get that often. The questions that you guys ask, it stimulates me as an engineer. It stimulates me to help to maybe, even though like I mentioned earlier, we've talked about some of these questions before, and you go through those 50 hours, you'll see repetitive questions, but you'll also probably see maybe they've been answered a little bit differently, right? Just a hair, just to kind of give a little more clarity, as well as, because again, I learn as well. And I want everybody to understand too, that the Healy technology is new. This has not been done before. This is a system that is not on the cutting edge, but on the bleeding edge of technology, and not just technology, but the way the human body aligns itself. This is something that's we're on this quantum border where we've been doing things in a certain manner for our entire lives. The entire human existence up until this point has been operating within what's called Newtonian principle, cause and effect. It's an old matter to matter, kind of realm where physical activity equates to physical results. Like I mentioned before, the Olympic athlete that gets the gold versus the silver, the mind is the difference between the two, not the physical, because the bodies are so close, so highly tuned. It's the mind that actually, and that mind is actually operating within the quantum realm. So now it is not just about cause and effect. It's about causing an effect. And this is quantum law. We've outgrown Newtonian principle, folks. We're too smart. We've advanced. Awesome. Well, thank you, Paula. Thank you, Rachel. You guys rock. Q&A every week. I love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Paula. I love always learn a lot by being on the call. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Okay, Susan says, I used to be able to type in the system in the app. We're talking about the HealAdvisor search app now. It would tell me the programs to run. Has the app changed? And where we have to subscribe to the HealAdvisor. No. I mean, yes, the app has changed. You don't have to subscribe. If you've got the HealAdvisor Analyze, it's a search app, the HealAdvisor search. It's the one right below my, right here to my side. Let me see if I can get over out of the way. There we go. All right, it's right behind me. It's the one with the squiggly line right here, the three wavy lines. So that's the HealAdvisor search, and it has changed a bit. You know, you put in a condition and it gives a long list of programs available. So it has changed a bit. Jake, you want to talk about that much?
Yeah, so just a little history. Before July 2021, this app was an additional purchase, but ever since back, I think it was July 10th when we started sales again, it's included with all additions after that date. It's still available if you have an older Healy and you don't have the search module that we're referring to. You can buy it's a one-time $41 fee. Just go to your shop, go to the app module section and add on search. But yeah, there has been some updates to the function of the search module as far as how you search for things. So in the past, you would type in whatever you're looking for help with. It would come back with the individual programs. Now it's kind of like a group of programs. So if you type in something and then you click on that group, but then within that group, there might be several different programs related to that topic. So it's kind of like combining them all together for you. And then from there, you can add that group to your IMF schedule to run those programs. So it's different, but once you know how to use it, you know, there's still a ton of benefit to using that, you know, and this type of thing is always going to be changing because of Healy's a global company. You know, we're in 50 plus countries and we have to comply with different rules and regulations and all these different markets. And there's only one version of this app. So over time, some of the things may change, how they're displayed or how the programs are called. All those kind of things can change over time. But before, it was kind of like two different search options. There was the open search where you could type in anything and it would recommend the programs for that topic. And then there was like a guided search, I kind of like to call it, where you could only scroll through a list of like specific names. There was a set list of programs or of topics, and you could scroll through that list, pick those topics, and those topics could be added to your IMF schedule. But the open search where you could type in anything, those individual topics weren't added to the IMF schedule. And it's changed a few times over the last 6 months to where it's now just one search function. So the plan is to make it easier to use over time. So, and Henry put some more details in the chat here about some of those changes. So thank you, Henry, for doing that. But you know, use it some more. You know, try some different search terms, and you know, there's still, again, a lot of value to be able to have those programs pulling from this huge master, you know, time waiver database. You know, that's one of the huge benefits to Healy is that we've got 15 years of history with time waiver of use of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. That information and that the learnings from that are put into these program recommendations. So there's a ton of value there to just trust the results that come back.
Yeah, the time waiver database, if we think that Healy is vast, oh my gosh, there's even way more within the time waiver. But again, like I mentioned, it requires training and a practitioner with some intensive training to understand that all of that content. And so what was the purpose of Healy was to put a Healy in everyone's hands. In other words, to make it useful for anybody so that you don't have to go to college or have a PhD or be a guru to understand it. You can just use it, turn it on, plug it in, and start. So here's a question Doug is asking or saying, a lot of the training videos show the teacher wearing a Healy either with a coil or with cables. But how are we able to focus on a topic of concern to get the most benefit? Okay, so again, when it's being displayed with a coil, like I'm wearing it, or
cables, like I'm wearing, so
like Jake's wearing it, we are running the Healy 2 app, or what's commonly known as the Pink Dot app, essentially only utilizing microcurrent, because the device is on our body or connected to our body. And so the microcurrent is being delivered directly into the host. We are the host. It's not going to somebody else in the room. Otherwise, if it was a coil, I would unclip it from me and clip it on that body, that host. So if it's the leads and the wristbands, then Jake would take it off of him and put it on somebody else. So it's whoever it's attached to is who's getting the benefit, because this is microcurrent or magnetic energy within the proximity of the Healy, or the MagHealy, same thing. When it comes to the blue dot, now we have put a client in there, and there's very specific content in which identifies this client, their name, their picture. Again, we mentioned earlier about the energetic vibrational reading that the Healy takes. Also their place of birth, their date of birth, their gender. This is content to weed out the millions of other humans, to narrow it down to just one, essentially GPS coordinates, or I should say quantum coordinates, just one. And so that only takes place in the Blue Dot app. And so everything that program was designed to do and work within is within that modality, within that quantum GPS signal and that interface with that one client. All right. And you can have multiple clients within the program, but you're only going to assign and pick one client at a time. And when that client's been picked, an evaluation has been made and content is being sent, you can't change that. You can't switch it to somebody else. You have to stop the function, go choose a different client, choose a different scan or a list from their previous history, and start over. Healy, though, I can be running my coil program. I can take it off of me and go put it on the dog, right? And it's still going to put that energy into the proximity of where this Healy device is. Or in Jake's case, he could unstrap the wristbands and put it on somebody else. Now, the process in which the microcurrent is assessing the one it's connected to, in the beginning of that program, the first, 8 minutes or so, it's evaluating the host and finding the resonance of that host for the purpose of the program, and then starts to apply frequencies based on that host. So it becomes very relevant to that host. So if I take this off halfway in my program and hook it to somebody else, it's not going to be very accurate. It's not going to be probably the same. Okay, same with Jake. If he disconnects from his, puts it on somebody else, all of the frequencies that were chosen by the program he's running was based on the resonant frequency of his body and the needs of his body with the purpose of the program. Okay, so I hope that clears it up in terms of we're looking at two different realms of operation. And the Healy has automated systems. They put automated systems in place to make it accurate within those two realms. Okay.
Yeah. So this next question here, Henry already helped out with on the chat, so thank you. It was about someone's search module wasn't working, or the HealAdvisor app in general wasn't working properly after they upgraded from residence to professional. So Henry put the steps into the chat there, how to either clear the app cache if you're using Android, or just delete and reinstall if you're using iOS. So that typically takes care of that issue there.
Yeah, this is not uncommon. We got to kind of reset things sometimes.
Yep. And then here, this is a great question from Lindley. So do you know when the new personal growth program will be available in the shop? Yeah, that's a great question. If anyone was tuned into Frequencies and Friends last week. Mark Whitman did an amazing presentation on the new personal growth database, and it's actually not planned to be available as a standalone database in the shop anytime in the near future. There's two ways to get it right now. You can either buy a new Healy resonance or hire, and it comes with that personal growth database, or if you enroll somebody that makes a purchase up until the 14th of this month, or 14th or 15th, you as the enroller or the sponsor get that database too. It'll be added to your device near the end of March. So there's two ways to get, either buy or if you refer somebody to Healy and they make that purchase, you'll get it added to your own device in a little over a month from now. So
isn't that great?
yeah,
Isn't that great?
very, very powerful database. If you want, there's 81 different programs within that database. So,
just like the digital nutrition, right? I mean, that's a whole huge database all by itself. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else we got. So there's a comment here. So Stanley's just saying that the HealAdvisor app is not as user-friendly now, seems more confusing. And so at first, I mean, just like anytime we learn something new, it seems to be more confusing. Instead of being able to put, you put your search word in there and it picks things for you. It's getting used to it takes a minute. I've been playing with it a lot just to kind of get familiar. Again, I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to figure out how to optimize its use. So, because it is a very nice tool.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Doug says, I love the integrity of Marcus's vision and of the company in general. Like any technology, it can be used for good or bad. I suspect Healy has, either by intention or design, has a built-in fail-safe that prevents misuse. Can you confirm? So I love this question, because I get people that are kind of skeptical about putting their information in when it comes to the blue dot. You want my birth date, you want my place at birth. That's a lot of information. I'm really concerned about that. Or, is this giving me frequencies that can harm me? So as I mentioned earlier, when we're connected to the pink dot and we're running a microcurrent program, the body is the host. And Healy, the first part of that sequence is to find your resonant frequency. And then for what? Well, then analyze it, or I guess, bump it up against the purpose of the program that you've chosen. So if you've chosen, I don't know, muscle, right, within the fitness program, if you've chosen that program, so the first part of that program analysis is to find your resonant frequency for muscle tissue, muscle synthesis, muscle repair, muscle health. All right. And there's a resource pool within that program of frequencies known to benefit muscle. All right. Now, when I say muscle, it doesn't mean just human, any muscle, but it's connected to one specific human. And so it's doing the resonance analysis on that one specific human and finding the resonance and then pulling frequencies from that resource pool to best enhance or align or energize that host. So can it do harm? No. I mean, these are already frequencies known to benefit muscle. It's just fine tuning which frequencies for that human's muscle, that one genetic expression. Okay. So, within the blue dot, again, you're putting that content in. That information is kept within your Healy cloud, your cloud, right? It's your account. This is why when you log in, there's a verification code sent to your email. You have to put the code in, then it locks your device or your program that's on your device with your cloud and then synchronizes that way. If you don't put that code in, you can't get in, and nobody else can go and look at it. It's content that's only relevant to you. So, so two things you're safeguarded there. If you're concerned about putting your content in for the analysis as a client, okay, that's within a secure location that's only accessible by your app and your account. Two, if you're worried about frequencies being implemented into the body that can be harmful, not possible, because they're your resonant frequencies. Okay, so I hope that helps.
Yeah, and the question there also about, as you were referring to, the safety of the personal data. Of course, you mentioned everything's encrypted into that cloud account, and then also the data that's in there is anonymized or pseudonymized also. So that's essentially replacing any personally identified data, so no one can even tell what it means. It's only you have the key to that data too. So, and also keep in mind, Healy, the headquarters, the worldwide headquarters is in Europe, which have the most strict data privacy rules in the world. So it's not something that's sort of taken lightly at all.
So think of it this way. Let's just say the massive server has a bunch of just ones and zeros. It's a huge bucket of ones and zeros that just sits there and mixes around and sunbathes and has all kinds of fun. Just a bunch of ones and zeros. And it's not until your program, your app, sends the code to that bucket to say, hey, I want some of those ones and zeros, then the bucket sends a verification back to your program and says, okay, prove you're you. That's the code. And then your program sends it back to the bucket and says, yes, this is me. Here's my proof. And then the bucket takes the swirling ones and zeros, random swirling ones and zeros, and puts them into order that only your device can decode, only yours. Nobody else can do it. So it's all just a random bunch of ones and zeros. It's just data. Yeah. So it's not until it's verified and elaborated by your app that it winds up even being decipherable. Okay. I mean, remember when we had the master key? That was, huge security. But this is the same. This is the same. The way that the server works is the same. It's just the authentication process is different, made it simpler or more simple. That's a better word. Okay. Couple minutes left, folks. Henry's just knocking them out back there. Thank you very much. Look at all these awesome, great answers. Be sure you guys save the chat if you like to keep a hold of that information. Let's see. Here's I've heard of some who have used more than one or multiple Healys at the same time. Is it okay? Pros and cons. So that's my hack right there, girl. I'm telling you, I do multi Healys. I call it dueling Healys. Because again, if we are, let's just say we're running the coil with one Healy and the wristbands or electrodes with the other Healy. If we're running synergistic programs, or even if we're not, they can be running completely irrelevant to each other, but I like to be efficient. And let's just say my way I work it is I will be running some microcurrent into my body to assist the tangible tissues, systems, and organs of my body with the microcurrent, because it's proven, research shows decades back, that microcurrent itself increases ATP production, protein synthesis, as well as amino acid transport. This is science. And Healy uses microcurrent as a carrier wave for the frequencies into the body to do exactly that purpose, but very specific system cells and tissues because of the frequency. All right. So if I'm running the wristbands and electrodes and I'm running microcurrent in my body and I'm exercising and I'm running the program muscle, right? So now what am I doing? increased ATP production, increased protein synthesis, increased ATP or amino acid transport with the microcurrent. And at the same time, I'm running another Healy with the coil, and I'm running strength program. Now I'm sending magnetic energy as a propagating wave, information wave into my body to tell that genetic code to build strength, strong muscle, right? So now I'm building synergistic systems, 2 Healys at the same time. A lot of benefit there. A lot of benefit there. Remember, the body will weed out, like eating too much food, right? The body will take the nutrients it needs and utilize it. Now, it's going to store the rest in some cases or work heavily on eliminating the unneeded things. So same thing here. If we give the body too much, it's going to work on eliminating things. How's it doing that? Through the secretion process, elimination process. Hydration is a really, really important part of that hydration process. We need to be able to use the lymphatic system. So that's movement, as well as, grounding to help to discharge. So these are things we need to do to help the body eliminate. But definitely a lot of benefit when it comes to using multiple Healys or the MagHealy. All right. Okay. I think we're at the end of our hour, Jake.
I think so too. Yeah.
Man, it started out slow, but it never seems to be stagnant very long.
Real quick before we go, there was a question about someone that's brand new to Healy. They received it last week and they were asking about the master key because I don't recall seeing that. That process is gone. If you're brand new to Healy, you don't need to know anything about the master key. So just ignore anything you see, but it's been replaced by a 6-digit code that's emailed to you if you ever need to access your device set it up or access it on another smart device. So
yeah, and that's it. So yeah, definitely we're trying to get rid of that old master key ID, but it still comes up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for you guys being here. I really appreciate your participation, and it always energizes us to be able to solve these mysteries, and then also gives feedback to what the field is still concerned about or having struggles with. So definitely invite friends, bring people next week, come and see us again. I think that maybe we'll have some new questions to unlock some new mysteries. All right, guys. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Henry.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, thank you, Henry. Have a great night, everyone.
See you later.